be able to see where those corners are. Then you can take a piece of string around each corner so you know exactly where that property line is. Timber rights. Not everybody has them. Believe it or not, even if you buy a piece of property, you may find out that the timber doesn't belong to you as the new buyer. If you look in your state contract, they normally have a section that says how much of the timber rights belong to you as a new purchaser. So you may not be able to log the area that you're thinking about putting your new home on. Whenever you're filling out your contract to buy that specific piece of land, make sure that it says in the contract that you will own all the rights to that specific use of the property. With that, also, you want to make sure there is no land leases already on for that piece of property. And if there is any land leases on that property, find out how long they're there for. Because nothing would be worse is if you started a whole project building your house and then the logging company comes in and says, oh, we're going to take down all these trees, and they don't care about your project whatsoever. Just look at that. It's very important. You want to own all the timber rights to that piece of property. Is it recording now? Have you looked at the flood maps yet? To get a more specific view of the flood zones, you can go to FEMA.gov and you can actually type in the address of the property itself, and they'll give you the flood maps for that specific area. If the piece of property doesn't have an actual address where it says to be determined, you can still get a roundabout by looking at the map and stretching it out. Now, if you looked on FEMA, you still can't find it, you can always, during your inspection period, have a flood certification certificate done for that specific piece of property. Again, this is really good if you're in an area that floods quite often. But for goodness sakes, do not take the seller's word for it that that area has never flooded before. It's not like somebody would lie about something like that. But I swear on my cousin's uncle that it's never flooded over. Oh, you found a piece of
That's
land
hilarious.
and you're like, oh,
She's
it's like
hilarious.
6 acres. I can subdivide it and give half to my mom and then half for me, and then we can split the cost. And hold up, sister. You're going to need to know something. You can't do it unless you subdivide. And sometimes with a piece of land, in the restrictions, it says you're not allowed to subdivide. And find out how much acreage has to be with every single structure. See, in my specific county right here, you have to have at least 1 acre in order to have a manufactured home on it. There might be filed restrictions that limit you from actually being able to subdivide that piece of property. In some cases, the
That was almost like a jump scare.
Like what?
real
You
estate agent that has
ruin
will
it.
know if it can be subdivided, but if they don't, you can go ahead and
Oh my God, you is so
and ask
extra.
them if you're going to be able to do that. The best
Well,
piece of
I'm
land
just
is a piece of
saying,
land that already has utilities on it. In a lot of cases, when you're buying raw land, you're not going to have the ability to do it. If you're thinking about being an off the gritter, I want you to really think about where the sunlight is coming in on that piece of land. But if you see this already set up on a piece of land, you've already got yourself a deal. Because if you already like the price of the land already and it already has this, that's like a gold mine. Now, you want to consider not just the fact that the sewage, you're going to also want to consider electricity, and if electricity can come out to that specific area. And take out your cell phone. If your cell phone is important to you, you want to make sure that you have a decent signal out there. And that brings me to my other point. Make sure that you are able to get
Thought of
internet out there as
everything.
well. Especially if you're going to be one of these work from home people, like you're leaving the big city. And you want to get a piece of land. You want to make sure you're going to have internet so you can go ahead and do your job. So you want to find some cheap land. Everybody wants a deal when they're buying a piece of land. I totally understand. And I know that a lot of people have gotten really good deals when they've gone to tax sales and bought pieces of property that way. When you're doing that, make sure that you've done all your research on that piece of property to make sure there's no other liens on it, not just a tax lien. And that's another one that you're going to make sure that it's not landlocked. Now let's talk about owner finance properties. Now there's tons of websites that do owner financing, but I want you to be like a buyer beware. I want you to go to a title office when you find this piece of property. The people that are selling it, make sure that they own it. I've had this happen to clients of mine in the past, and I've gotten many emails of people that did
so smart.
owner financing, only to find out they
Subscribe
didn't
to the
have rights
channel.
or use
Share
to
this
that property
video
at all.
with
They got
a woman
scammed. So be
who's over
very,
40
very
and
cautious when you're doing owner financing properties.